The day started like any other at Joe's auto repair, a small garage tucked away on a quiet street, but nothing about that morning would stay quiet for long. A policewoman, injured and struggling to get back on her feet after a roadside accident, rolled into the shop. Without hesitation, Joe, the mechanic known for his quiet kindness, jumped in to help. He patched her up, offered her water, and even fixed minor damage to her cruiser to get her back on duty. It was a simple act of decency, but for his boss, it was more than he could tolerate. By the afternoon, whispers in the neighborhood had grown into gossip. Joe's boss, furious and claiming he was overstepping, fired him on the spot. The staff watched in stunned silence as the mechanic who had spent years fixing cars and helping people walked out with nothing but his tools and a stunned expression. But the story didn't end there. That evening, the quiet street transformed into a scene straight out of a movie. One patrol car arrived, then another, until 10 cars surrounded Joe's house. Lights flashed, engines idled, and neighbors peeked through their curtains. Unsure what had happened, what could possibly have triggered such a massive response? Was it the policewoman, the boss, or something more complicated than anyone imagined? Joe stood at his front door, heart racing, unsure what would happen next. And just like that, the quiet mechanic found himself at the center of a storm he never saw coming. Joe's mind raced as he watched the patrol cars. Lights flicker against the walls of his small house. He knew helping the injured policewoman was the right thing to do, but he had never imagined it would spiral into this. He thought back to the morning how she had limped in, her uniform torn, and how he had ignored his boss's usual warnings about staying out of trouble. Helping someone in need had always felt natural to him, but now it seemed like that single choice had unleashed a storm he couldn't control. Neighbors whispered behind drawn curtains, their eyes wide as officers approached cautiously. Joe's phone buzzed, but he didn't recognize the number. Every message he ignored only made the tension grow heavier in the air. His dog barked nervously, pacing the living room, sensing the unease. In the quiet moments between the sirens, Joe remembered stories he had heard about small acts that snowballed into life-changing events. But he never thought his life would become one of those stories. Meanwhile, in the back of his mind, questions gnawed at him. Why so many patrol cars? Was this about the policewoman? Or was there something bigger he didn't understand yet? He could hear voices and officers coordinating, speaking in low, urgent tones, but the words didn't make sense. Joe tried to stay calm, but every instinct screamed that something serious was about to happen. He had always fixed broken cars, but now he faced a problem he had no manual for, no instructions, and no easy way out. Joe's hands trembled as he slowly approached the door, glancing through the peephole. Outside, uniformed officers moved with precision, their radios crackling with urgency. It wasn't just a routine check, he could feel it in his bones. He thought about the policewoman he had helped earlier, remembering her grateful eyes and quiet nod. Could she have called them, worried about his safety? Or had his boss exaggerated the situation to cover his own mistakes? The questions gnawed at him, leaving his mind spinning in every direction. Inside the house, Joe's thoughts shifted to his family. His younger sister Emma had been staying with him that week, and now she crouched behind the sofa, clutching a blanket, whispering that everything would be fine. Joe tried to reassure her, but the weight of the flashing lights outside made his voice falter. He realized the conflict wasn't just about him, it had pulled his loved ones into the storm too. Meanwhile, back at the garage, his former coworkers were buzzing with rumors. Some felt guilty for not standing up to the boss, others whispered about how Joe had always done more than his job, sometimes bending the rules just to help people. Each perspective painted a different picture. To some, he was reckless. To others, he was a hero. And through it all, the tension only grew, as if the entire town was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Joe's eyes darted to the window as an officer moved closer to the porch. He realized that whatever was about to unfold would force him to confront not only his boss and the police, but also his own choices, and there was no turning back now. The night seemed to stretch endlessly, the suspense thick, leaving every heartbeat feeling like a countdown to the unknown. Joe's pulse hammered in his chest as the knock on the door came again, louder this time, followed by a firm voice calling his name. The flashing red and blue lights reflected off the walls, making the room feel like it was spinning. He peeked through the curtain and saw at least 5 officers standing on his porch, their expressions serious but unreadable. Every instinct screamed at him to stay calm, to think, but the weight of the unknown pressed down hard. Inside, Emma clutched his arm, her eyes wide with fear. Joe whispered that everything would be okay, though he couldn't even convince himself. He replayed the morning in his mind, the injured policewoman, his boss's furious words, the firing. Could a single act of kindness really escalate into this level of chaos? He had always believed in doing the right thing, but now it felt like the right thing might be dragging him into danger. From the street, he could hear radios crackling, voices coordinating, and a few neighbors whispering in the distance. The air outside felt tense, charged, as if the night itself was holding its breath. Joe glanced at the tools scattered across his garage, a symbol of his normal life, now dwarfed by the storm at his door. Suddenly, a voice called out, "We need to speak with you, now." The words were calm, almost polite. But the presence behind them made Joe's stomach knot. He knew stepping outside could change everything in an instant. Every second stretched like hours, every heartbeat louder than the last. The patrol cars, the flashing lights, the officers' serious faces, it all pointed toward a moment he could no longer avoid. And as he slowly reached for the door handle, a chilling thought struck him. He might be stepping into a situation far bigger than anything he had ever imagined. Joe's hand hovered over the door handle, his heart pounding like a drum. Just as he braced himself to step outside, his phone buzzed violently on the counter. A message flashed across the screen from an unknown number. *, leave the house now, or it gets worse. He froze, staring at the words, a cold chill running down his spine. This wasn't just about the policewoman or his boss anymore. Someone else was watching. Someone who knew exactly where he was. He glanced back at Emma, whose small hand clutched his sleeve, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Joe, what's happening?" she whispered. Before he could answer, a car door slammed on the street, followed by hurried footsteps. Another officer, not part of the group surrounding the house, appeared at the edge of the yard, looking frantic and out of breath. He held up a badge, but spoke urgently. "There's no time to explain, but you're in serious danger. It's bigger than the firing, bigger than the patrol cars. People are after you for helping her." Joe felt his chest tighten. He had known his decision to help the injured policewoman might stir trouble, but he never imagined it could put him in real danger. His boss's anger now seemed like the smallest piece of the puzzle. Someone or something was orchestrating events from the shadows, and the police presence at his house was only the beginning. The flashing lights, the officers' tense faces, the threatening message on his phone, all of it made the night feel suffocating. Joe realized that stepping outside wasn't just about answering questions anymore. It could expose him to a threat he wasn't prepared for. And as the wind rustled through the trees, he knew that the story he thought he understood was about to explode into something far more dangerous, and the next move could change everything. Joe's grip on the door handle tightened as he finally stepped outside, the cold night air hitting his face. 10 officers stood silently, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The mysterious officer who had warned him ran forward, signaling the others to hold back. "Joe, stay calm. The situation is contained now," he said. In that moment, Joe realized this wasn't just about him, it was about the policewoman he had helped. Somehow, her accident had triggered a series of events tied to a larger investigation, and his small act of kindness had placed him at the center. The boss appeared at the edge of the street, looking both furious and anxious. He started to speak, but the lead officer cut him off. This man did exactly the right thing. Any threats or trouble started from someone else entirely. "We've secured the area. You're safe now." Relief crashed over Joe like a wave, but it was short. The unknown messages, the patrol cars, the tension, it had all been orchestrated by a criminal network tracking the policewoman, and Joe had unknowingly stepped into the crossfire. As officers escorted Joe and Emma to safety, he finally saw her, the injured policewoman, standing in the shadows, alive and grateful. She nodded at him, silently thanking him for the courage he didn't even realize he had. Just as the tension seemed to lift, Joe's phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. *, you helped today, but tomorrow, the real game begins. Joe's stomach sank. The immediate danger was over, but the shadow of what was coming loomed larger than ever. In that moment, he understood that being a good person sometimes meant